one of the coaches. Let's welcome to the program for the first time, Michael Chandler. Michael, how are you?
What's up, boys? I am doing great, man. Excited.
We appreciate your time. Let's get right into it. I'm sure you've seen seasons, you've watched some of the Ultimate Fighter, and I'm curious, what did you do, if anything, to prepare, to be the coach on season 31?
And I got to be honest, didn't do a lot. I think just with my 15 years of experience in mixed martial arts, I knew I was going to have the technical side of things plus the mindset, spiritual side of things to be able to coach my guys kind of set. And then obviously from the reality TV side of things, you really can't prepare. You just got to go in with an open mind and open heart and expect the best. And it was definitely an interesting couple weeks out there in Vegas while we were filming 24/7 nonstop. And it was a blast. It was hard at times, but it was good. So there wasn't a lot of preparation. We just went out there and hit the ground running.
Obviously, we're not going to talk about any episodes. We're going to have the winning fighter on every week. Hopefully, we can get you back on during the season. So we're not trying to get any information at all, but I'm curious, maybe what would you have done differently? And what every single coach and every single fighter has told me since season one of the most important things is location of your bedroom. That as soon as you get into that house, that's what you need to do first.
Yeah, I think that does... That is, and it was funny too. Obviously, I had my own house. Connor had his own house. That was one of my stipulations. I'm like, I am not living in a house like that with 16 other dudes. But the fighters themselves, they did tell that story. They said, yeah, we would get off the buses and everybody ran inside to go claim the bedroom. And, obviously it's no secret. It's not it's a nice large fighter house, but it's still 16 dudes. So you're talking bunk beds, four people, 6 people to a room. It is not the best living quarters whatsoever, especially when you're talking about brushing your teeth next to the guy that you're going to fight, having breakfast with the guy that you're going to fight. So it was an interesting experience for those fighters, to say the least. So it was my job as a coach to kind of bring them back mentally and make sure they focused on the task at hand, which is going out there, getting their hand raised, and try to become the Ultimate Fighter.
I was going to throw out that I really would have felt bad for 6 people sharing a room. When I was in the Navy, there was about 50 of us in an 8x10 room. That was our sleeping quarters. But then when you added about brushing your teeth next to your opponent and seeing them like that definitely puts a whole different perspective on it.
Yeah, it does. And that's the competition Ultimate Fighter microcosm that these guys were thrown into. Now, granted, they knew what they were signing up for, but you never quite know until you actually get there. And then the matchups get made, the teams get selected. There's a little bit of animosity between you and a guy on the team, or even you and a guy on your team, or you and the other coach, the other coaching staff. There's a lot of testosterone pumping through 20-something bodies out there, all in a very small vicinity over a period of time out there in Vegas while we're filming this thing. Everyone's mic'd up, cameras on at all times. So I got to be honest, and I'm really, really excited for the world to see this season. A lot of really, really cool aspects of it. Not just the fights, but the fighters themselves, the coaches themselves, and all the different things that we had to do. Man, it's going to be a fun season on ESPN all summer.
When you said that your stipulation in your contract was that you couldn't, I thought you were going to say that you wasn't going to share a place with Connor. I didn't expect you to say to share a place with the 16 guys.
Well, yeah, it was more, hey, I know what I was signing up for, but I also needed to have my own space. I knew I was going to go there, hit the ground running, and I was going to pour every single ounce of my being into being the best coach every minute of every single day for that month and a half that we were there. So in order to do that, I do need my own space. So I woke up, got my own little routine, focused on me for about 5-10 minutes in the morning. Then the rest of the 23 hours, the rest of the day was focused on how do we get these guys in the best situation. So I needed my own space.
You've obviously cornered, fighters for many, many years, and fighters have always told me it's one thing when it's you in the octagon, when it's you in the cage fighting, but when it's somebody that is relying on you as a corner guy, it's totally different. Is that the case with you?
Yeah, it's totally different, and to be honest, it's totally it's much more nerve-wracking. When I go out there and fight, I've already known that I prepared. I've already known that I've done every single thing possible, left no stone unturned, and if I go out there and lose, I lose. It was the way it was supposed to be. But when I was in charge of these guys' rest of their life. I was in charge of being a pivotal catalyst to them either becoming the Ultimate Fighter, getting a UFC contract or not. It really, really was important to me that these guys won. And Team Chandler did well, but I would be lying if I was saying that there wasn't certain regrets or certain areas where I wish I would have done better, because I wanted to be the best for these guys. And it was definitely nerve-wracking watching my guys wear my colors with my name on the back of their jersey. I was so proud of it, but it was also a very, very bittersweet and tough scenario to watch these guys go out there and compete, because I wanted them to win.
What could have happened, would have happened, we don't know if it did happen. You have one thought, a fighter that you just met, he's part of Team Chandler. He's thinking something different. Obviously, you're the veteran, you're the guy that everybody knows. How do you guys discuss that as to, how you're going to move forward?
That's a great question, too, because, these guys had just met me. Yeah, maybe they're a fan of my work in the octagon. Maybe they want to be like me someday. Maybe there's certain aspects of who I am and how I fight that they want to emulate, and it's going to make them a better fighter. But they're also their own individual person. They're also their own individual athlete, and they're carrying all of the habits and all of the training and all of the years of experience that they brought outside of the Ultimate Fighter into the Ultimate Fighter. And if I was going to go right away and start changing their game plans or changing who they are as a fighter, it could have led to their detriment. So there's a fine line between, hey, here's a couple things that we definitely want to work on. Here's where we need you to be mentally, physically, and spiritually, but also let's not negate the gifts that you already have. You're very good here. You're very good in this position. So let's focus on those things, but also tweak a couple little things. Make sure I wasn't imposing my philosophy, my mixed martial arts philosophy too much to let these guys be their own individual fighter. But there was kind of a mixture on my team, if you will. Guys that were 100% bought in. Hey, coach, you tell me to do this, I'm going to do it 100%. And then there's other guys who were kind of like, yeah, I don't really do it that way. I don't really, fight this way. I'm not really that guy. And I welcomed both of those. I'm completely fine with my fighters standing on their own 2 feet. And I'm also fine with the guy who wholeheartedly, blindly follows me into the octagon with the way that I was going to train them. And it was a good mixture of both, and you're going to see it on ESPN all summer. There was some tension, there was some tears, there was some highs, there were some lows, and it's a very interesting scenario that we threw ourselves into there in Vegas, and it's all going to play out on ESPN this summer.
So Michael, you talk about coming to the table prepared. I did not today, but I remember seeing a Facebook meme or something this week where it showed the dominance in the UFC of Olympic wrestlers or NCAA wrestlers. So you're coaching throughout the season, take your wrestling background into consideration and apply it to their strategy of a mixed martial artist, because statistically it shows that they're more successful. Do you believe in that theory?
I absolutely believe in it, but I always say when people talk about what's the best base for mixed martial arts, I always say wrestling, but it's not actually, to me, about the fact of being able to pick a guy up and put him down and be dominant on the ground, have great body awareness, be able to have good cage control and ground control, which leads to TKOs on the ground and pound on the ground, or submissions on the ground. It's more about the mental aspect of why wrestlers are successful. What we put ourselves through for thousands and thousands of hours just molds you into a mentally strong, mentally superior human being who is happier, healthier, and harder to kill because of the comfort zones that you have gotten yourself outside of. So me being able to take that wrestling mentality, of course, working on the takedowns, working on takedown defense, working on the X's and O's of the grappling exchanges was important, but how can I get my guys to believe in themselves, believe they deserve success, and believe that they are going to get their hand raised on fight night? That was the most important thing. And with a very short amount of time to be able to instill that in those guys, I think we did a pretty darn good job. But it remains to be seen on ESPN this summer.
And along those lines of discipline and the hours,
how big of a professional is Michael Chandler? He's now said ESPN like 6 times. This guy knows what he's doing.
He's definitely a professional. But what makes him a bigger professional, Randy, is Michael took his weight loss or weight cuts where he missed weight, and he made it a point to change the discipline to make it a profession. And we argue all the time, Randy, about how you have one job as a fighter, and that's to make weight. So how are these young guys treat their weight cuts compared to like the old school guys?
No, good question. I will correct you there. I have never missed weight ever in my entire life. I have had some hard weight cuts where it came down to the wire. But, you know, you live and you learn and you become better because of it. And the weight cutting aspect of it is extremely, extremely hard. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. There's a bunch of different, and really it all comes down to discipline. It really does. And I fancy myself a guy who, you know, as you said, I try to be as professional as I can. I try to do everything right, mainly because it makes things easier. Make it hard, make it disciplined, so it then, as a byproduct, becomes easier, and then you perform better. So the weight cutting aspect of, you got to remember too, these guys were there for 4 or 5 weeks, and they might have fought 2 or 3 times in that time period. So you got to make weight, then make weight a couple weeks later. It was tough on these guys, but we had a great coaching staff. Obviously, I had other wrestlers on my coaching staff. We kept eyes on these guys, kept tabs on them, making sure we put them in the best scenario possible to be successful on fight night. And weight cutting was a huge aspect of it. But those old school guys, I think, have cut a lot more weight than more of the new school guys, or at least we have so many more anecdotal experiences of the old school guys to tell us what to do, what not to do. And I'm that 15-year veteran to be able to tell these younger guys, this is how we should do it. If you don't believe in me, you can do it yourself, but you can believe in yourself and do it the way you always do it. But this is the way I would do it. And we had some pretty easy weight cuts there on the show.
Like I tell most of the fighters that come on, my next weight cut will be my cremation.
Exactly.
Are you a fan of other sports, other teams, other athletes outside of the MMA world?
Yeah, I am. I'm not a huge sports guy, got to be honest with you. Obviously, I'm here in Nashville, Tennessee, so I'm a Titans fan, a Nashville Predators fan. I do watch the sport of mixed martial arts. I follow it because I believe if you want to be interesting, you have to be interested. You have to know about your sport that you're talking about. And I watch bull riding, and then I'm a St. Louis Cardinals fan because I'm born and raised in St. Louis. So that's kind of the sports I follow. And I do love those guys who rise above, create a mystique and a brand about themselves where they're doing it for more than just the X's and O's, the bright lights, and they're doing it for an impact.
I believe before you were born, I was the bat boy for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Come on now. Now we're talking. That's awesome.
Hey, yeah, I go back Lou Brock, Keith Hernandez.
All right.
Ozzie Smith.
Definitely before my time. My time. I remember Ozzie, man. I remember Ozzie growing up watching Ozzie Smith, the backflips, and now, it's kind of cool. My signature after I knock a guy out is doing backflips in the octagon. So maybe a subtle hat tip to Ozzie Smith and the St. Louis Cardinals.
There was some good times back then, and Ozzie Smith, totally a class dude. I always ask, especially the first time a guest comes on, whether a fighter, a rock star who was just on, Jason Schaff, if you could have dinner with any 4 people, outside of your gym, outside of your family, living, passed away, real or fictitious, who would you sit down and eat with?
Daggum, that's tough. But you got me with the real or fictitious. I got a good one for that one. So I would definitely say living. I would say The Rock. I would say Muhammad Ali. I would say Jesus Christ. And then I would say King Leonidas from the movie 300.
Okay. I was going to say, yep, I've had dinner with The Rock. Yes, I know I've met Muhammad Ali. I had dinner with him. No, I did not have dinner with Jesus Christ.
Yeah, exactly.
I am old, but not quite that old. Are you the type
not
of
quite
guy?
That old.
Say what?
No, yeah, just not quite that old.
Yeah, not quite that old. No. Are you the type of guy that can kind of keep things inside? And obviously, I'm talking now about your opposing coach. When I was in the military boot camp, they try to get in your head, they try to get under your skin. I would stand there, I took it, and I laughed my butt off inside. Are you the type of guy that can do that, or is emotions and knowing that that's what the opposing coach, Conor McGregor, I'm sure, tried to do?
Yeah, no, I think that was the one thing. Going back to, I think, your first question about what did I prepare for? Once you get lined up against Conor, we're going to fight later this year. The mind games start, and then I'm on a reality TV show opposite him, and knowing that he loves to talk and loves to do his Conor thing when the cameras start rolling. that was one thing that I really started to kind of visualize and rehearse or prepare for. And the biggest thing for me was to keep it more compartmentalized, to keep it more unemotional, to keep it more inside, because you never want to let them see you sweat. You never want to let them see you squirm. And I think I did a pretty good job of that. I'd be lying to saying I did it perfectly, because it was a long time around him. But yeah, mainly try to keep it inside, and then keep the main thing, not take it too seriously. Realize that he's going to say what he's going to say. We're on a reality TV show. It's going to be cut any way that they want to cut it. Not be too married to this thing and me looking the way that I want to look on TV all summer. And I think it was overall a great experience, phenomenal experience, but I definitely tried to make sure Connor didn't see me sweat at all.
Where will you be watching next Tuesday?
Actually, next Tuesday, I will be watching by myself. The first show, my wife and I are going to sit right here on our couch here in Nashville, Tennessee, us watching it by ourselves. And then I'll rewatch it, because I'm doing my own tough reaction show every single week, right? That will post right after the show on my YouTube channel, so all the fans can kind of see what was I thinking during this episode, what my firsthand experience, my anecdotal experience of what was going on, the ups and the downs, the emotion, all of those different things. So I'll be, I lived it, but the show itself is going to be a little bit different, because I don't know how it's going to be cut. And we took, hundreds and hundreds of hours of footage and cut it down to 12 hours this summer. So it's going to be interesting, but I will be right here with my wife, just us two, and watching by ourselves as the show starts on Tuesday, at Tuesday, May 30th. And it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see how I feel. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to feel, but and then I got a bunch of different plans the rest of the summer. As I said, doing the reaction show, I'll be going to different places, interviewing people, traveling around. But this one, me and my wife, by ourselves in the comfort of our home.
I appreciate your time. Only a couple more. This is longer than I told Dave Lockett it would go, but I appreciate your time. You said that you don't know how it's going to be cut up, and we never do. Are you worried about that at all? And the reason I'm asking is I remember vividly when Matt Hughes kind of turned, everybody loved Matt Hughes. Then he's the coach on The Ultimate Fighter. Some video came out specifically of him playing solitaire right after one of his fighters fought. And everybody blasted Matt. They still blast Matt about it. Only in reality, he played cards 2 weeks sooner, and they spliced it together that way. Are you concerned about that in any way?
I think that was one thing that I have been prepared for. Obviously, right before the show, during the show, and now we've had a couple of months since the show was done and wrapped, and now they can cut it whatever way they want. I think it's one of those things where I'm living my truth. I am authentically me. I was authentically me during the show. If they decide to cut it up any way they want to do it, obviously for lack of a better term, the cards will fall the way they will. If I have a solitaire situation, I have a solitaire situation. But also, man, it's going to, no matter what, it's going to be overall positive. There's going to be some ups and downs with it, I'm sure. There's going to be some times where I probably lay my head on pillow at night and say, man, I don't like the way they did that. But also, you can't control it. So I try to focus on what I can control, and that's how I respond to how it comes out, and then continue to move forward and bringing people value. And then, like I said, too, I'm doing my own reaction show every single week to where I can give you my firsthand experience. Hey, guys, I think they cut it differently. So
what is the YouTube channel? Let everybody know.
So it'll be mine. So it's youtube.com/Mike Chandler MMA. So I'm Mike Chandler MMA on all my socials. And anybody who's going to subscribe right now, we got our first episode coming out here soon. It's a pre-tough episode where we're going to lay everything out. We're giving away prizes. We're going to have a bunch of really cool guests on. I'm going to have a bunch of my fighters come on and join me either in studio here in Nashville or via Zoom. And it'll be good to be able to chop it up, talk about it, reminisce. And also, as you said, if there is a Matt Hughes solitaire moment, I can correct them in real time as the show airs.
Very good stuff. Michael, thank you very much for your time. I know we have your address. We're going to send you a care package from 8 Man Strong for coming on, and hopefully we'll get you back on during the season.
You got it. I'm always down, man. I appreciate you all. Thank you for the opportunity, and I'll see you at the top.
We'll talk to you very soon. Michael Chandler, one of the two coaches, and I'm going to say 72% of fans are going to be rooting for Michael Chandler in this.
Yeah, the 72 exact.
Oh, yeah. I flipped the coin. It came down. See, I did my research. It was 72.
Well, that's because you're a professional.
So, all right, let's go hit a quick break. Coming to you live from Tournament to Pizza. This is Knockout Radio.